Hello everyone. Today I'll be doing my project on the French country, or the former French country, Vietnam. So let's just jump into it. So what we first must understand is the history of Vietnam. So in 1858, the French began their colonial control over the colony of Vietnam. And they owned it for many years until the year 1945, when they declared their independence with the leader Ho Chi Minh, who was a communist revolutionary, making Vietnam one of the first communist countries, along with Russia, or the Soviet Union. After they declared their own independence, they had a long fight ahead of them. Or the yeah. So at first, the war was pretty much just between the communist revolutionaries in northern Vietnam versus the free-fighting southern Vietnamese, led with the French. And as the fighting began or continued, the French realized that they had no chance of winning the war by themselves, so they enlisted the help of the United States in 1963. However, the United States, dealing with many of its own problems, could not win the war itself. And after 12 years of fighting, the United States finally decided to pull out and allow Vietnam to own its own independence. And to this day, it is still one of the 2 or 3 communist countries left in this world, which is rather interesting. And so as previously stated, it is a communist country. So that means that as for religion, it is one of the few completely atheist states, where because as a pillar of communism, religion is not allowed. And their current prime minister is Nguyen Xuc Phuc, who who is a member of the Communist Party and one of the major revolutionaries. The languages of Vietnam are French and Vietnamese, but is mostly Vietnamese as of recently, due to the whole they still had bad blood until recently, which I will get to later. The population right now is 97,338,857, or 8,579. And the geography of Vietnam, as you can see right now, is mostly a sea country, meaning that most of their most of their land is connected to the along the coast of the South China Sea, and they share borders with China, Laos, and Cambodia, as you can see. And even though, it is a rather small country, and as you can see right there, that is the flag. And as with most communist countries, it is a very simple red and yellow, and Vietnam is known for their big star, or big golden star right in the middle. And which brings us next to their famous foods. And as you can see on the left, that is pho. I have personally had it quite a few times. It is a rather enjoyable meal. It has noodles, meat, and spinach, and these white bean kind of things. It's all in a stew that cooks the meat while you eat it, which is it's rather interesting, and I'd highly recommend trying it if you haven't. And as for these two, I personally haven't tried them, but I just researched them for the project. And yeah, they look similar to the pho, but they're as in terms with the noodles and the straw and the carrots and the greenery. But yeah, neither of which have broth. And also sao lu, and probably butchering those, but I did my best. The next one is sports, and as the Vietnam is known mostly for their, or isn't really known too much for their athletics. However, their most popular sport, or the most popular sport in their country, is soccer, as it is with most of the world. But they are also known for their acrobatics and cycling. Um, and as you can see right here, that is Lee Tu Shin, who won the golden medal for the 100-yard dash, and actually broke the record for the East Asia Games in 2019. So yeah, that is her. And as for their current connections to France, as previously stated, they were a former colony, and after they got its independence and the war ended, they cut off speaking. They were not on speaking terms until the year 1990, when Francois Mitterrand became the first French president to reopen their cooperation and resume trade. And which brings us next to their environmental issues, and they seem to have quite a bit, such as their pollution and the illegal trade of wildlife, as long as their deregulations of the natural resources. This is due mostly because they are more less. They don't have as much money. They're more of a poor country. So they do not have the same kind of fundings as a country like the United States would in terms of environmental protection. And they're also one of the most vulnerable countries in the world due to climate change because of their how most of their population is on the sea. And so they're more vulnerable to the changing weather patterns. And so say the rising tides continue to rise, their country will continue to sink into the ocean, meaning that they really need, or we need to protect the climate in order to make sure that Vietnam doesn't sink. Which next brings to our Vietnamese culture, which in the 20th century has become more westernized. However, this was not always the case because, as with most communist countries during the Cold War era, they were heavily censored and policed into like not participating in Western media or anything that had to do with the West. So the government tried to run their own different kinds of culture, or they tried to force their citizens into a certain kind of culture, which, however, that is no longer complete or as much of the case. The holiday that is most well known and celebrated would be Tet, or I believe that's how it's pronounced, which is said to be a mixture of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and your birthday all celebrated at once. So it is like a big celebration where everybody gets to. So it's like the big day of their year, so that they, yeah. And yeah, that'll be it.